Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Becki Gray and Chris Fitzsimon. President Trump came out strongly in favor and support of Senator Thom Tillis' reelection after Tillis stood behind the president's immigration policies. Now, some Republican pundits are saying this is a game changer for Tillis as he faces a stiff reelection next year. Does this make it more likely he's going to stave off primary competition and win the nomination? And if so, will the president's favorable ratings underwater? What does that mean for the general election, Chris?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think there are some folks on the right who were upset about Thom Tillis. Let's not forget, I've never remember in my lifetime keeping up with politics where somebody would not just oppose the president, would literally write an op-ed in the Washington Post about why the president is wrong, and then 4 days later, or whatever it was, say, "Oh, I take it back." And so I think there was all sorts of the perception of Tillis is that he really wasn't with Trump. He's tried really hard. Trump rewarded him with an endorsement. I think that is a big deal in the primary. Garland Tucker, the Raleigh businessman who's challenging him, kicked off his campaign by claiming that Tillis wasn't loyal to President Trump. I think this certainly diffuses that. But as you mentioned, it's a double-edged sword. In a federal election, which the U.S. Senate is, President Trump is the issue in the general election. If President Trump continues to be unpopular and underwater, absolutely. Well, that's what I mean in North Carolina. But I think just in the Senate race, it clearly helps Tillis in the primary. I think it makes it a little more difficult for him to distance himself from some of the things that are unpopular that the president is doing.
You know, this reminded me of the old the black and white TV show I Love Lucy. When Desi would come in and say, "Lucy, you got some splaining to do." Tillis, you got some splaining to do. Becki, what do you think of this?
Well, of course, what we've seen in the Tillis-Garland primary race already is sort of a race of who can be the closest to Trump. We're seeing this in other races across the country, too. I mean, the president clearly is going to have a tremendous influence on the tone, the direction of all of these races.
It's all about Trump this year.
Right, exactly. And so this is no surprise. I think it is a benefit to Thom Tillis with this, particularly in the primary. Based on the Democratic debates that we've seen this week, I'd say the president is going to be in pretty good shape moving into the election, and so to be closer to him may really benefit some of these.
I don't know. I'd like to go to some of the people in eastern North Carolina who are worried about tariffs and ask Thom Tillis, do you support President Trump on tariffs?
Particularly farmers.
Absolutely. There's a lot of baggage with the president.
But now let me ask you this. Does this sort of dampen Garland Tucker's campaign? I mean, he was getting ready to self-fund a lot of this himself, and it's going to be millions of dollars.
This is a big deal. As both you and Chris have alluded to, this is a big deal in the primary to have the president's endorsement. And this was a strong endorsement for Thom Tillis. I mean, I can't remember the president's exact tweet, but I mean, it was like in a
full endorsement.
Yeah, something like that. So there's no question. I think clearly it's going to help him in the primary.
So does this help Democrats who are running? Last week on the show, we had somebody saying they thought Deborah Ross was going to jump into this on the Democratic side.
I don't know. One thing that's been interesting to me in this, and I'm just an observer, you know, in all of this, but that the Democrats really seem to be having a hard time finding a candidate that everybody can get behind. I mean, some of the people that have talked about, I have tremendous respect for, but there doesn't seem to be sort of that magic candidate that everybody's really excited about. And that surprises me in a first-term challenge race for a Senate candidate. The importance of this race in the whole makeup of the United States Senate and the power struggle and structure that we're going to see. And, you know, it seems to me that within the Democratic Party, there are a lot of strong players. I mean, I see this every day at the legislature. I mean, there's some really smart, really bright people in the Democratic Party. I'm just surprised that this hasn't gelled yet, because I know it seems like a long...
Why do you explain that, Chris?
Well, I think two things. First of all, there are a lot of people who are exploring it. Eric Mansfield, Cal Cunningham, Janet Cowell, Deborah Ross, all those would be, I think, significant candidates who would run good campaigns. I don't know if they win or not, but I think they're legitimate candidates, and there's probably more, and we'll see. I think that'll all shake out. But one thing to remember is 2 years from now, there's an open Senate seat, and if you are running if you really want to win, it's much easier to run for an open seat than it is run against an incumbent senator who has the president's endorsement, who has all the privileges and power of being an incumbent senator. So for some people, I think they're trying to decide, I really wanted to go to the Senate. Should I run this year, or should I wait when there's an open seat and Senator Burr's not running for re-election?
Well, and of course, part of the decision-making there is how vulnerable do I think the incumbent is. First-termers
Right.
That's
Right, that's
always
Right. Yes, that's the time to get them if
Yeah.
you want to unseat somebody. But just one real quick on that, to Chris's thing of looking forward and where this might be in open Senate race and other races. Some of these races, like in the 3rd Congressional District and the 9th Congressional District, where we had so many candidates there, I was watching a lot of that really with interest. First of all, to see who was going to come ahead in the primary, but also where those emerging leaders, where's that emerging talent? Where are we looking for? Who's starting to kind of bubble up, get their feet on the ground, develop fundraising, develop campaigns? Where's that bench? Where's the next generation?
well, and all of them
leaders
in these
from?
congressional campaigns, all of them are trying to get as close to Trump as they can.
I should have
Right,
mentioned that
yeah.
Erica Smith, also a state senator,
Yeah.
who's already announced that she's running. So there are some folks out there.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Thanks for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.